This is National 5 revision. What we're going to be dealing with here is some fractions and maybe decimal multiplication or BODMAS type questions. These usually feature as the first question that may be in your exam. So we've got some work to do here. So I've just zoomed in a bit on some of the questions and I'll work through each one. Remember, they're non-calculator questions, so let's go ahead and do the first couple that are here. I'll just try and zoom in just a wee bit more and see if that's any better for you. Right then, so the question is just going to be evaluate, so work out the answer to these questions basically, and let's go ahead and do these. So the first question, I've got 24.7 subtract 0.63 times 30. So I've got to realise that in BODMAS I'm going to have to do the multiplication part first, okay? So what we've got here is 24.7, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract from that 3 times this number here. So 10 times that will be 6.3, and 3 times the 6.3 is going to be 18.9. So that'll be 18.9. I could do a bit of work at the side if I needed to do that, and I can do a subtraction at the side as well to work this out. This one here is going to be a 5.8 as a final answer. Okay, so we're then on to this fraction here. Okay, so what we've got is a mixed number question. And in this one here, what we're working on, we're working with 1 and, I think it's 1 3/5 this is going to be. 1 3/5 plus 2 4/7. Okay, so one way that we can work on these types of questions is to add the larger numbers together, or the whole number part of it. So if I do that first, so the 1 plus the 2 gives me a 3, and what I've then got is I've got 3 and it's going to be plus, and I've got 3/5 and I've got 4/7 that are there, and what I'll do is I'll try to gather them up as we go along. Right, so I've got 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a kind of kiss and smile kind of technique, making the denominators the same. So 7 times this side, 5 times that side. Okay, top and bottom. So the way I'm going to lay it out is just as a single fraction. So 7 times 3 gives me 21, 5 times 4 gives me 20, and I've got a plus sign in between, and what I've got is I've got 5 times 7 gives me 35. Okay, so what I should end up there is 3 plus, and that's going to be 41 all over 35. Now that's a top heavy fraction, so what I'd want to do is to change that into a mixed number. So what I should have here is 3 plus, and that's going to be 1 and 6/35. Okay, from there, so if I add these two numbers together, it should give me a final answer of 4 and 6/35, and that would be my final answer there. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, so here we go. So another decimal type question. I've got a bracket around that helps me a bit because I'll do the brackets part first. So what we've got is we've got 3.8, and I'm going to subtract from that 8 into 7.36. Okay, so 8 into that would give me it's going to be 0.92, that would work out, and it works out exactly to that there. And then just to work out my final answer, when I subtract that there from that there, and what I should end up with is 2.88, and that should be my final answer. Okay, so at the bottom here I've got a good BODMAS type fraction question. So this one here could be one that appears in the starter for the exam. I think that's quite a good question to start with. So one thing I would always try to remind you of, when you see that of sign that's there, just think of it as a multiply sign, okay? So of is just a times, okay? And we'll work it through from there. So what we've got first of all is we're going to have to do that timesing part there from BODMAS. So 2 1/3 plus, and that's going to be 5/6 times, I'm going to change that to top heavy. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to multiply 1 times 5 gives me 5, plus the 2 gives me 7/5. Okay, so the other way that works out is how many fifths are there in 1? There's 5 fifths in 1, plus another 2 fifths gives me 7 fifths. Okay, so what I can do when I do this part here, I can either multiply straight across the way, or if I simplify down in this sum here as it is, it makes things a wee bit easier for me. So I'm going to divide the bottom by 5, divide the top by 5, that gives me 1 and 1. So that allows me to have a 7/6. So I'm going to change this number here to, let's see, no, I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave that as 2, and I'm going to say it's 2 1/3, 2 plus 1/3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on to that this part here, which is just 7/6. Okay, so easy ways to work this one through could be just to make that up to a sixth. So that's going to give me 2, and to make it a sixth, I'd multiply it by 2 on the bottom, so it'd make a 6. If I multiply the bottom by 2, I need to multiply the top by 2 as well. So that's me got sixths on the bottom. If I add the sixths together, I've got 2, and that's going to give me 9 sixths. So 9 sixths is just the same as 2 plus, if I divide the top and bottom by 3, that should give me 3/2. That's like 1.5. Okay, so that's going to be the same as 2 plus 1.5, which should give me an answer of 3.5. Okay, and that'd be my final answer there. Bump up, done. So there's another 2 questions on the right hand side of the page, okay, that are up about here. Right, so let's go for them. So another decimal type question, that what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this out again. Okay then, so I can see I've got to use BODMAS again, so it's really just testing that skill. So it's 6.04, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that out. So if I multiply it by 10, I get 37.2, and if I multiply that by 2, I should get 74.4. So 74.4. Okay, all I'll do is I'll then just gather them together, and that should give me my final answer. I'll just put it up the top here, and that should be 80.44. And that should be my correct answer there, 80.44. Final question that we've got in this small section that's here on fractions and decimals is I've got a division. So if you can see, that's a division sign. I've got 3 1/6 divided by 1 2/3. So for this type of question, what I would always do is change it to top heavy. Okay, and to change it to a top heavy fraction, simple method is 6 times 3 gives me 18. Plus that 1 that's there is 19. So it's 19, and I'm working with sixths. Okay, so it's 19 sixths. I'm then going to divide that by 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 gives me 5. So that's going to be 5/3 that's there. So it's 19 sixths divided by 5/3. So from there, what we can do is we can just, we've got a couple of options that we think about here. So we've got a stay, switch, flip. So what that would mean is we leave that fraction as it is, we stay switch, we switch that from a divide sign to a time sign, and we flip that fraction over. Okay, so that's the way that I would do that, and all I would do is then just multiply the fractions out. Okay, so all we're doing is really we're taking the reciprocal of the second fraction and we're changing that to a times. Okay. Right, so let's go ahead and do that now. So for me, I always like to cancel down if I can, because it makes my numbers a bit smaller and easier to manage. So on the top, I'm looking for something on the same times table as something on the bottom. So there's a 3 and a 6 that's there. Okay, so they're both in the 3 times table. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just multiply the fractions straight across the way. So 19 times 1 will give me 19. On the bottom, I've got 2 times 5 gives me 10. And then, because I was given the question as a mixed number, I'm going to answer it as a mixed number as well. So 10 goes into 19 once, so that's a big 1. And then I've got 9 left over, and I'm working with tenths on the bottom. So that there would be my final answer for that question there. Okay, so that section there, what we were working on was, we're working on really fractions and decimals. So the percentages part of it was completed before, so you can check out that video as well for percentages. And hopefully this has helped you to prepare for your National 5 assessments in January and February.